Hello everybody. Today we are going to be talking about the Memento Mori Oracle by Claire Goodchild from Black and the Moon, and we are going to be tackling the subject of how to curate your own deck. This is something that I talk a lot about, especially in my Patreon community. To be honest, this deck comes up in conversations at least once a week in our Discord server because so many people love it. And those of you who know the deck, you know that it has quite a few expansions as well. At some point, the more cards you have, the less manageable it becomes as a whole. So you kind of need to make decisions and curate your own deck, basically decide which cards to keep in versus which ones to leave out in order to create your perfect deck that's actually usable for the purpose of divination and can be shuffled easily and stored easily and so on. So there's a lot to cover. So I'm just going to try and somehow make this not be too long. First, I would like to mention that I have a few parameters for everything I do when it comes to curating this deck for myself. I'm actually going to be doing a little curation process here as we go along in this video because I just felt like updating some things, etc. But my parameters are that it needs to be able to fit into the box that came with the kind of base deck because I like to store my decks in their small boxes on my altar, so that's just very handy, and it's also useful when I want to travel with a deck. So it can't be basically thicker than this, otherwise it's not going to fit into the box. So that's one thing I do. And then when it comes to the contents themselves, because this deck also includes the full Lenormand deck within it, I always keep all of the Lenormand decks and some other categories of symbols or images as well. But I will kind of show you that as we progress here. So for now, I would like to show you my base deck, so what I have curated right now. And then I'm going to move on to show you which expansions I actually have, and then we will go through the process of curating the deck itself. So I pre-prepared it by actually separating the Lenormand cards, so you will see those first and then the other ones I chose from what I have available. So we start with the horseshoe, which is the rider, and we move on with standard Lenormand cards. Some of these, for example, the wheel is traditionally the ship, the grave is traditionally the house, the gallows is traditionally the tree. Some of these, as you can see, the smoke is clouds. They have been renamed, and for some of those I actually have tiny writing in there to remind me which traditional card that is in Lenormand. So in casket is actually coffin. That's not a huge change. Wreath is bouquet. But some of these are just kept traditional. Bats are birds. And I'm trying to move quite quickly because, as I said, we have a bit of stuff to cover here. Raven is stork traditionally. The cemetery is garden. The obelisk is the mountain. Rats are mice. Okay, and that's the 36th card of the Lenormand. I'm going to just keep them aside for now, and we are just going to quickly flip through the rest of what I have in my curated deck right now. That was the Morning Brush. This is Scale, Harp, Mortar and Pestle, Salt, Owl, Broom, Embalming Fluid, Rowan Cross. This is one of the Patreon cards that you get for being a supporter over on Patreon. Spell, Watch, Coins, Teapot, Poison, Spider, Tear Catcher, Holy Water, and this is also from a vampiric set that was available for purchase for patrons. Cat, Snail, Imp, Deer, Mandrake Root, Door Knocker, Foe, Blood Ancestors. This is also a special card that was available for people who pre-ordered Claire's Book of the Ancestors. Cure, Offerings, Thistle, Coffin Nails, Spinning Wheel, Witch's Compass, another Patreon card, Scissors, Hagstone, Cage, Witch Bottle, Angel, Ladder, Ghost, Stang, Nettle, Vampire, another one from that vampiric set, Frog, Puppet, Mirror, Scorpion, Nest, Bone House, Lantern, Rope, Moth, and Knife. So that would be the deck that I have right now, and I'll just show you quickly the expansions I have. So of course I have the base deck, right? So Memento Mori, Lenormand, and Oracle. Then I have the general expansion pack. Oh, this is the second one. This is the Folk Magic general expansion. And this is the first one, the actual general expansion pack. So this was the first that came out, I think. This one was one of the next ones that came out. So general expansion, Folk Magic general expansion, and I also have the Ancestors and Advisors pack. And this is the only one that I keep separate. I don't mix it into my base deck that I curate. I like to keep these cards separate. Some of them I have up on my ancestor altar at all times, like all year round. And also the only one, I think, card that I actually have in my deck is the Foe card, because I find it useful to have in a deck. So those are the ones I have. And now let me just rearrange some things and get back to you. So I know for sure that for my curation process, I will always keep the base of the Lenormand deck. That's always going to be present because of the way I read this deck. It's very much Lenormand style. So these are like the foundation for me when it comes to the deck. Now, the way I approach it personally is that I will always include all of the plant cards that I have, and there's some in the base deck already, but we also have Nettle, Thistle, Mandrake Root, and Mortar and Pestle. These are cards that I will always keep because I work with plants in my practice a lot, so that's important to add on. Another thing, now when it comes to animal cards, so here I have Scorpion, Moth, Frog, Deer, Snail, Cat, Spider, and Owl. I always kept all of these in my deck, but I am considering taking some out this time around and switching things up a bit. So I will leave these out for a moment. Then I have some cards of let's say, beings or spirits. And when it comes to these, I have imp, foe, blood ancestors, angel, ghost, and vampire. And I'm definitely keeping the imp because for me this card signifies one of my familiar spirits. I'm definitely keeping the foe card because this for me is like a basically warning card or danger card, you know, allowing me to know that somebody's up to no good in relation to me. Blood ancestors, this is a card I keep as well because I want to know when they are especially trying to get my attention or especially being present coming through in a reading. Now, angel, I'm considering leaving out. Ghost, I will keep in, and vampire, I will keep in. Then next, we have some cards that have to do with tools of the craft that I use, let's say, or that are somewhat familiar to me. And here I have cure, knife, puppet, holy water, poison, broom, salt, offerings, witch's compass, scissors, hagstone, stang, mirror, bone house, rope, lantern. And so I am definitely keeping cure and poison because to me they are kind of like, you know, two sides of one coin, let's say. And for somebody who works with plants, and I also happen to be working with some poison plants as well, these two come in handy, let's say, in readings. These I keep for sure. I also want to keep holy water. Let's see, salt for sure, because it comes up in important contexts for me. Now, yeah, the thing is mirror for sure as well, but because this has also significance in scrying, but also in, basically directing something back at yourself, to look at yourself. I think it's very helpful. Now, I don't know about the lantern, because I do actually use the lantern in my practice, but I'm also considering switching that out for candles, which is another card present. The knife, I think I will keep for now. Puppet, I'm not so sure, to be honest. Broom is nice for sweeping. Offerings, just to signify when a spirit would like some. Now, when it comes to scissors, that's what I want to keep for sure. And now these are some cards like the Witch's Compass, the Hagstone, the Stang. These are things that I am very intimately familiar with in my practice and part of how I practice my craft. But I have noticed that they don't always, how do I say this? Like, I don't always need them, or they don't always come up in ways that are like very, very helpful to me. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just leave out the Witch's Compass for now, even though the card is fucking stunning. But that's the thing, when you want to curate your own deck, you kind of have to leave out the aesthetic side aside for a bit and think about the utility. At least that's how what's been working for me. I think I'm going to keep the Stang because it can also be related to the Witch's Compass, but also in other contexts that this tool is useful in one's craft. Now, bone house I actually use to signify any type of spirit vessel in my craft. I don't know. I'm going to leave it out for now. Rope and hagstone. I think I'm going to keep the rope for now and leave out the hagstone. Now, I am not sure if these are final choices, but let's move on. Now, here I have some of the other cards that I had in my deck. The Nest, Ladder, Witch Bottle, Cage, Spinning Wheel, Coffin Nails, Embalming Fluid, Rowan Cross, Spell, Watch, Coins, Teapot, Tear Catcher, Door Knocker, Morning Brush, Scale, and Harp. And I think I definitely want to keep the coins. That's helpful. The watch as well to signify, to have some kind of card to signify time. And the rest are not really like must-haves for me. So I think I'm gonna, although the teapot, but I will talk about that in a moment. And the door knocker maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna leave the rest out for now. Now let's go to, okay, here I have this pile that's like cards from Patreon as well as cards from the base deck that I left out previously. So these ones from Patreon or from the Book of Ancestors, like this Demeter or these archetype ancestors or community ancestors, I leave out because these are not like part of my practice, my culture. The photograph card doesn't really seem useful to me. This is again stunning but not part of my culture, and the same for the Sabbath cards. All of these are Patreon cards, by the way, so you get these if you are subscribed to the Patreon. The wooden stake is the third card from the vampiric collection or the add-ons. I never really used it in my deck. I will maybe just set it aside for now. Then we have Pentacle, Graveyard Dirt. I might want to set it aside. Cemetery Gate. I also might want to set it aside. Then we have Syringe, Plague Doctor, Lock. The lock is kind of interesting, especially because we also have the key in Lenormand, right? So lock and key would be nice. Sachet, Cup, Spirit Board, Crystal Ball, Glove, Sign, Perfume. I want to set aside Door, Mort Bell, Pillar, Altar, Viewing Table, Urn, Medical Kit, Chiromancy, Pot, Amputation Saw, Hourglass, Globe, Crown, Shovel, Sextant, Painting, Memento Mori, Pedestal, Tasseography I want to set aside, and Candles as well. Charm, I don't know. I'm gonna set it aside, and that's it. So these I just set aside for now. And by the way, I also have one card that's very, very special, and that's actually a custom card that you can order from Claire to signify somebody specific, like from your family. Basically, you decide the name that's put on it as well as the kind of what's written underneath, right? So this one, and you can also choose the flowers and the tomb shape and everything. It's amazing. This one I keep on our ancestral altar as well. I don't keep it in the deck per se. So I just kept these aside for now, but I want to see what else I might want to add. So let's go to the general expansion pack. So we have the hair, pins, boot, torch, black ink, mining pick, witch, corpse, hand of glory, sacred stone, trunk, at rest, casket, plate, casket, screw, executioner, newspaper, and bone mobile. Oh, this one is from Patreon as well. I might want to put the hair on the pile with other animals for now. As for the rest, I don't really feel drawn to any of these at this time, so I'm just gonna set them back in the box. I try and keep them somewhat, like organized as much as I can at least. Let's look at the folk magic expansion. We have crow's foot, boar, I want to set that aside, and cow as well for the animals. Labyrinth, Witch Ball, Weather Vane, Knitting Needles, Rolling Pin, Daisy Wheel, Drum, Chess Piece, Wishbone, Clothespin, Apron, Feather, Shell, Pail, Witch's Ladder, Runes, Pipe. So these, as you can see, are more like folk magic stuff versus like ancestral stuff maybe. Honestly, I also don't feel like I want to add any of these at this time. Maybe I'm just going to set aside the crow's foot for now. And we'll see. Okay, so this is messy as shit. I think I can add like at least this much more. Shit, you can't really see. But yeah, I think that's like 10 to 20 cards I think I can add still. So let's think. I do have the Lenormand, right? I do have the plants. I do have the spirits. I do have some of the like base cards that I usually like to have. Let's look at these again. So crow's foot, charm, candle, tasseography, door, lock, cemetery gate, graveyard dirt, wooden stake, door knocker, teapot. Okay, so here's what I wanted to do. Okay, so I'm gonna add the lock, that's for sure. Now another thing, for example, is you have tasseography and teapot. So these two for me are kind of the same thing. I know it says tasseography, which is a form of divination with, you know, the teacup basically and tea leaves, right? But for me, this actually, both of these speak about tea, so some kind of information, spilling tea, you know, that's how I usually read these two. And sometimes they also come up for me in the sense that when I'm asking a spirit, for example, what to do in a certain situation, they will sometimes, like I had this actually happen a few times, where they will indicate that I'm supposed to ingest or drink, you know, some kind of plant to help me with something. So one of these goes in for sure. Maybe this time around I'm going to go for the cup instead of the teapot, just to switch things around. Now another thing is that we have the door knocker and the door, and they don't exactly have the same meaning for me, although they are similar, you know. So the door knocker is basically like letting me know that somebody's trying to get to me, like maybe a spirit. That depends on the context of the entire reading, right? So basically like someone's trying to get in touch, maybe that's how I would explain it, versus the door, that's also it. But other than that, just the meaning of like liminality, because the door is a threshold, is a very liminal space where a lot can happen, and especially like depending how you practice and your culture and everything. But in our culture, thresholds are very, very significant. So I don't know, like it's hard, you know, to make choices like this, but also keeping both, does it make sense? Or is it gonna, you know, take too much space, basically? Because you can think like one card is not gonna change much, but when you think that 5 times, that's 5 cards. So, yeah, that's kind of rough, honestly. I think I'm gonna leave these two out for now and just hopefully it comes to me, the answer comes to me. See, another thing is lantern or candle. You know, they are both sources of light, both something I use in my practice. The lantern for me has more this meaning of like guidance in darkness, versus candles not necessarily. They can have like this double meaning of both being a source of light but also being like a vessel for spell work, stuff like that, right? So these two, again, I usually keep one of those in, and I find it hard to decide this time around. So similarly to the door and door knocker, I'm gonna leave those out for now and decide later. Now when it comes to graveyard dirt and cemetery gate, of course these are not the same cards, and again, you know what I'm thinking, like cemetery gate is also kind of a door. So maybe, okay, let's look at this. So we have door knocker, door, and cemetery gate. Maybe that's how I should approach this. Yeah, because like door is kind of like cemetery gate, you know what I mean? In some ways. I definitely want to keep the door knocker, that's for sure, because it's being useful. Now, when it comes to door and cemetery gate, well, shit. It's hard, hard choices. I'm gonna leave those two out for now. Yeah. And the graveyard dirt, gonna leave it out for now as well. Now we have these like spell cards, basically. Spell, charm, crow's foot, Rowan cross, witch bottle, right? And these are types of workings, like spell, I guess. Here's the thing, like words are important, and sometimes I wish these words were kind of switched around. So for example, with a spell, I wish it was named a charm instead, because that's closer to what makes sense to me in my practice. But the charm imagery does not make as much sense to me. So it's like I wish these two cards were one where I would get this image and this title. It's hard to decide, right? Whereas like crow's foot and Rowan cross are basically kind of the same thing, where they are both very protective, right? They are workings for protection. They are used in workings for protection. So I definitely want to keep one of those. And then witch bottle is also kind of the same thing as these two, but in a different way, because it entails like a bit more work, basically. Yeah, it's fucking hard, man. Like, how the fuck do I decide? I love all three, by the way. So, it's hard to choose. It's hard to choose which one to actually leave in. Which one would you keep in? Let me know in the comments. And with any of those choices, let me know what you would keep in. You know what? I think I'm going to keep in both the Rowan cross and the witch bottle and leave out the crow's foot. That's what I'm gonna do, at least for now. When it comes to the spell and charm, I think I'm gonna leave in the spell, just because I prefer to have the correct visual image than the correct title. Tough choices. Okay, maybe let's look at the animals again, and see, I'm just gonna pick the ones that are, I guess, the most important for me, and leave out the rest, because we don't want to, again, add too much to the bulk of the deck. So cow, boar, hare, scorpion, moth I'm keeping, frog I'm keeping, deer, I don't know, snail, cat I'm keeping, cat for sure, spider and owl. I'm gonna keep the owl in, snail in, spider in. Scorpion, I love it, but I also already have a poison card, which I feel like scorpion and poison kind of are interchangeable for me when it comes to divination. The deer. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it in. Let's see. Let's see actually with the box how much more space do we have. Oh, nice. Can you see that? So we still have quite a bit of space. That means we can fuck around a bit more and add some more cards. Let's look again at some of these cards I previously had, and just to like make sure one last time if I want to keep them in. Nest is cute, but I already have the Lenormand house card, so I'm gonna leave that out for now. Ladder is definitely more useful for me than Witch's Ladder because I don't practice that, but let's just leave it here for now. Cage can be important, but I already kept the lock card in, so I'm gonna leave that out. Spinning wheel. This card is kind of like, can both speak to working with fabrics, but also just being like a kind of wheel of fortune kind of a situation, right? So I think I'm gonna leave this in. Coffin nails, I'm gonna leave those in because like it can be really helpful when reading. This has a few meanings, you know. This can be like, as we say, is this an expression in English as well? Like we say, the final nail to the coffin, like a final thing, basically. But also nails themselves and coffin nails especially are useful in spellcraft as well. So that's like, you know, depending on the context and the cards around, I can choose a meaning. Embalming fluid for me is an interesting card because this always means like preserving something, keeping it as it is. So it can be very helpful in readings. I'm gonna leave it here for now. Now, tear catcher. Yeah, this is also one of those interesting cards where it can signify, for me at least, like being in a grieving process, in like being submerged in your grief, but also in a more cheeky way, similarly to how the salt card can mean, you know, being used for protection, but also being salty. This is also kind of, to me, like this double, more beachy meaning would be maybe like get over yourself, cut your tears, you know, that kind of a thing, which sometimes everybody needs a wake-up call like that sometimes to maybe not dwell so much on shit, right? I'm gonna leave it on this side as well. The morning brooch I'm gonna leave out for now. Scale, it's kind of like justice, right? Scales, but with the brain and everything. It's also interesting in terms of like weighing, you know, the rational mind versus the heart, that kind of a situation. Okay, so I'm a genius and I didn't notice when my camera stopped recording, so some footage might be missing of making final tweaks and choices, but now let's just go through the final walkthrough so you can see what I kept in, and so I can also see what I kept in, kind of look at it as a, you know, full deck and how I'm vibing with it. So we kept the cage, the bone house, wooden stake, door, graveyard dirt, lantern, candle, embalming fluid, tear catcher, hagstone, coffin nails, spinning wheel, deer, spider, snail, owl, cat, frog. I also wish there was a toad card. I know that for some people, like, it's the same shit, but I really, really, really would love a toad card. Please. Moth, spell, witch bottle, Rowan cross, door knocker, Tassiography, lock, watch, coins, rope, stang, scissors, offerings, broom, knife, mirror, salt, holy water, poison, cure, vampire, ghost, blood ancestors, foe, imp, mortar and pestle, mandrake root, thistle, nettle, horseshoe, clover, wheel, grave, gallows, smoke, snake, casket, wreath, scythe, whip, butts, child, fox, bear, stars, raven, dog, tower, cemetery, obelisk, crossroads, rats, heart, ring, book, letter, man, woman, lilies, sun, moon, key, fish, anchor, and cross. Yeah, I think I am feeling pretty good about this. Actually, if anything, I know that I still have enough space to maybe add like a card or two or maybe even three to fit inside the box, this box. But how I'm feeling right now is that it's actually like good enough, and if anything, I might even take out a few more cards this time around. I don't know, I'm just feeling like keeping things simple, you know. So that's what the deck looks like. Maybe let's just pull a card just for funsies, because initially I wanted this to be like a live stream where we maybe make choices together or you help me pick, but sadly like I couldn't get my DSLR camera to connect as a webcam into my computer so I could stream this on OBS, you know, technicalities. So I had to do it this way instead. So yeah, we don't get to do this live, but so we have bear, man, and knife. That's a cool reading. So two of these cards, the bear and the man, are actually from Lenormand. So and the knife is not. So the way I would normally read these is like in a progression from left to right, kind of the same as you would read Lenormand if you pulled like 3 cards. So because we have a person card, to me this usually signifies somebody specific in a reading. In this case, like the closest man in my life would be my husband. So you know what I'm seeing here, like straight away, because the bear is in Lenormand like a protective, sometimes motherly protective figure. And the knife, this is not a Lenormand card, but also in the style similar to Lenormand reading, which is how I read this deck. The knife either signifies, like depending on context, if I was doing a reading for my craft, this would be my craft knife, my ritual knife. But because this is outside of that context, I just pulled cards like for a general reading. I would see a knife as a potential danger, or like, you know, a wound or something basically happening. So this tells me maybe I should be more wary of my husband's like protection, or basically ensuring that he's safe and that nothing happens to him. So that's how I would read this in a quick reading like this. I really love this deck. This is like in my top 5, if not like top 3 decks of all time. And it's one of the most useful decks for my practice. I use it mostly for working with the dead, but not only. This is very helpful when it comes to like just doing a kind of reconnaissance when it comes to like, you know, doing spells or rituals, basically magical workings, how they are going to turn out in advance, or what tools I should use, or how can I improve a structure of a working before I do it so that it's most effective, that kind of a thing. I find that kind of divination to be very, very, very important and very helpful, so I don't waste my time and energy. It's just great for spirit work all around, but mostly for me, for working with the dead and some spirits who are kind of, let's say, close to that category, without going into too much details. So for those of you who wanted to see the curation of the deck, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you curate your deck, what cards did you choose to leave in versus leave out. Always remember, I know it's very tempting to keep some cards in just because they are very pretty, and the art style in this deck is just fantastic. I fucking love it. It's so aesthetic, and I know I get it, but try to think about utility first if you want to actually curate it to be a nice size, and test it around. That's my the best tips I can give from myself curating this deck over the past few years that I had it. Test it in practice. See if the cards that come up in a reading, if they actually make sense to you immediately, or if not immediately, then after some basic kind of pondering. But if you pull cards and you see that your immediate reaction is, what the fuck is this? I don't understand. This is not related to the context of what I asked. Then it's not the cards themselves. Maybe you just did not curate it properly for your actual needs. Because I know, again, it's very tempting to just follow the aesthetics, or maybe just curate the deck similarly to you saw me curate it or somebody else, because my process, as I'm explaining it here, made sense to you. So you figure, okay, I'm just going to do it the same way and it's going to work for me as well. That might not be the case, because we all have different needs. Different symbols respond to us better, or rather we respond to them better. We understand them better. We have more connotations with some certain symbols than with others. All of that needs to be taken into consideration if you want this to work for you. So again, if you want to curate your own deck, keep those things in mind and let me know if that helped you, made the process easier for you. And also let me know what cards you chose, because I'm always curious about that. So anyway, if you like this deck, go grab it. If it's out of print, because it just goes in and out of print on Claire's website, you can sign up for her newsletter, and I know she always notifies people when things are back in stock, and they are back in stock on a regular basis. When the expansions are back in stock, when new cards come out, stuff like that, and I also highly recommend the Patreon as well if you like some of the extra cards. I've been loving these, honestly, some of them are fucking brilliant. So yeah, anyway, that's enough of my rambling, because I could be here just sitting here all day talking to you about how much I love this deck. But yeah, let's just end it at that. So thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you around soon. Bye bye.